1 in the morning. There was such a loud knock on the door that I woke up suddenly. When I opened it, my daughter Tasha collapsed into my arms, her face completely bruised, her periods bleeding and cracked, clutching her stomach as if she'd been brutally beaten. "Mom, he hit me. Marcus hit me because of that woman." I held my trembling daughter. I hugged her silently. I took her inside, wiped the blood from her face, and then, without saying a word, I put on my sheriff's uniform. I loaded my gun, and I dialed my lawyer. "Start the plan. Right now. Because nobody, I said nobody, hits my daughter and gets away with it. Not even her husband, not even the man who once sat at my table and called me mother-in-law. Hello, my name is Gloria Jean Washington. I've been a sheriff here in Meridian, Mississippi for 22 years. And if you want to hear true stories of justice, faith, and divine vengeance that will make you believe that God defends his daughters, subscribe now to the Grandma's Diaries channel, because what happened in the next few days will leave you speechless. Comment below where you're watching this story from. You won't believe what this man did. You won't believe what I did. And most importantly, you won't believe how God turned this game upside down. Have you ever had to choose between forgiving or taking justice into your own hands? I had just taken off my uniform after a 12-hour shift. Being a sheriff in Meridian, Mississippi is no joke. We deal with bar fights, drug dealers, road accidents, and all sorts of drama that happens when you mix Mississippi heat with people who don't know how to handle frustration. That day had been particularly heavy. A fight broke out in a liquor store downtown. 2 men nearly died over a gambling debt. I had to separate them, arrest one of them, and spend hours writing a report. When I finally got home at 11:30 p.m., all I wanted was a hot shower, my flannel pajamas, and my bed. My little 2-bedroom house was on a quiet street near the Baptist church where I had attended for 35 years. Nothing luxurious, but it was my little corner, my refuge. I took a slow shower, letting the hot water relax my tired muscles. I put on my pajamas and said my nightly prayer as usual. I read a psalm before bed. It was Psalm 91 that night. "He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty." I didn't know it yet, but I really need that word in the next few hours. I went to bed at 11:59 p.m. I was almost asleep when I heard it. Bam, 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 bam. Desperate knocking on the door. Loud, urgent, the kind that doesn't wait. I jumped out of bed, my heart racing. My sheriff training had transferred to the control room. I grabbed my weapon from the bedside table drawer. I put my robe over my pajamas. I walked carefully to the door. "Who's there?" I shouted, keeping my distance from the door. "Mom, it's me. Please, Mom, open the door." Tasha, my daughter. Her voice was broken, crying, desperate. I opened the door so quickly I almost ripped the handle off, and what I saw made my blood boil in a way that not even the worst suffering I had ever endured had managed to do. My daughter was destroyed. Her left eye was swollen and bruised, almost closed. Her lower eyelid was cracked and still bleeding. She had a cut on her eyebrow, purple marks on her neck, and she was clutching her stomach as if she'd been punched there too. Oh my God, darling." I pulled her inside, closing the door quickly. "What happened? Who did this to you?" But I already knew. Deep down, I already knew. Tasha collapsed onto my couch, crying so hard her whole body was shaking. I ran to the kitchen, grabbed some ice and a cloth, came back, and started carefully cleaning the blood from her face. "He hit me, Mom," she finally managed to say between sobs. "Marcus hit me. He came home drunk, said I was asking too many questions about where he'd been. And when I showed him the messages I found on his phone, messages from her, from Keisha, he just freaked out. Keisha, a mistress, the woman who had appeared in my son-in-law's life 6 months ago and destroyed everything. He hit you because you caught him cheating?" My voice came out icy, dangerously calm. "It wasn't just hitting, Mom. He beat me. He punched me in the face, in the stomach. He strangled me. He said that if I disrespected him again by touching his cell phone, he would kill me. He said that, Mom. He looked me straight in the eyes and said, 'Next time, I'll kill you.'" Those words, those damned words. I had heard these stories before, from other men I had arrested. Men who later fulfilled their promises and killed their wives. But to hear about my own daughter, about Tasha, my baby, whom I cried alone after her father died in a car accident when she was only 3 years old. Something is broken inside me. Where is he now? She asked, still with that unsettling calm. At home. I passed out drunk on the couch. I waited for him to fall asleep, and then I ran. I grabbed my keys and drove here. Mom, I'm scared. I'm so scared. I held my daughter's bruised face in my hands. I looked her straight in the eyes. Baby, listen to me. You're going to stay here. You're not going back to that house. Never. Did you hear me? Never. But Mom, he's my husband. We made vows, for better or for worse. Maybe if I give him another chance, maybe if I stop nagging him about where he's going, maybe he'll stop hitting me. Those words made me want to scream. How many times had I heard that? How many women had I found dead because they were given one more chance? Tasha Marie Washington, she said firmly, never say that again. He hit you. It's not your fault. He cheated on you. It's not your fault. You question him. It's your right. You are his wife, and no real man raises a hand to his wife. But the church will judge me, Mom. You know how people are. They'll say I didn't pray enough, that I didn't submit enough, that I wasn't a good enough wife. Ah, yes, a church. Our congregation, where Marcus and Tasha were the model couple, where they sang in the choir together, where he was a deacon and she led the women's ministry. Nobody knew. Nobody imagined that behind that seemingly perfect event, Marcus Washington was a monster. I don't care what anyone says, he said, carefully wiping away her tears. Your safety comes before your reputation. Your life comes before what people think. And if anyone in the church judges you for leaving an abusive marriage, then they understand nothing about the God I serve. I helped Tasha get up. I took her to the guest room that I always kept ready. I gave her one of my clean pajamas. I made the bed with fresh-smelling sheets. I put water and Tylenol on the bedside table. Rest, dear. Tomorrow we'll go to the hospital for a forensic medical examination. We'll take pictures of all those marks. And then we'll begin the process of protecting you legally. Mom, I don't want to press charges. He's the father of my future children. How are we going to have a family if I put him in jail? I took a deep breath. I counted to 10. Tasha, darling, are you pregnant yet? No, but we were trying. I was taking vitamins, doing everything right because Marcus said he wanted a child. Thank God. At least there weren't any children involved yet. At least Tasha wasn't in jail with an abuser's child. Baby, men like Marcus don't change. I've seen it hundreds of times in my work. They promise. They cry. They swear it will never happen again. And then it does. Again and again. Until one day, they go too far. Tasha looked at me with frightened eyes. Do you think he would kill me? I think if you go back to that house, there's a good chance I'll have to investigate your murder in a few months. And I'm not going to let that happen. Not to my baby. Not while I'm breathing. I left her in the room and went back to the living room. I sat on the sofa, still feeling the warmth of my daughter's body where she had collapsed. I looked at the blood on the cloth I had used to clean her face. And then something happened. Something I'm not proud of, but it happened nonetheless. I don't feel forgiveness. I don't feel compassion. I don't feel that Christian mercy that pastors preach about. I feel anger, pure, hot, burning anger. And along with the anger came a thought, a cold, calculated thought. The kind of thought that comes when you've been sheriff for 22 years and know every ins and outs of the law. Marcus Washington made a mistake, a fatal mistake. He hit the wrong woman's daughter. I looked at the clock. 1:15 a.m. I picked up my cell phone and dialed a number I had in my contacts marked as lawyer. He answered on the third ring. Sheriff Washington? Is everything all right? It's 1 a.m. Nathan, I need your help. Now. My daughter just arrived here, beaten to a pulp by her husband, and I need you to start the plan we discussed a few months ago. Silence on the other end. Then, the contingency plan? For real? Very serious. Start the paperwork tonight. Restraining order, emergency divorce, everything. And Nathan, dig up everything you can find on Marcus Washington. I want to know where he works, how much he earns, if he has debts, if he has other women, if he has parking tickets. Everything. Come on, Sheriff. Everything will be ready by tomorrow. I turned it off and sat there in the dark. I can't sleep. I can't rest. My mind was racing a mile a minute. I picked up my Bible from the coffee table. I opened it randomly and came across Proverbs 31:8-9. Open your mouth for the mute, for the rights of all who are destitute. Open your mouth, judge righteously, and plead the cause of the poor and needy. Do justice. The words resonated in my soul. I went to my room and opened the closet. There, at the back, stored away for years, was my dress uniform, the one I wore at official ceremonies. Black, starched, with all the medals I earned in those 22 years of service. I dressed slowly. Each button was a decision. Each piece was a suit of armor. When I finished, I looked in the mirror. There was Sheriff Gloria Jean Washington, 52 years old, the first black woman elected sheriff in Lauderdale County, a single mother who raised a daughter working 3 jobs before joining the police force, a woman of faith who never lost a prayer battle, and now, a woman with a mission. I grabbed my gun. I loaded it methodically. I put it in the cold, and then I did something that could cost me my job, my reward, even my freedom. I got into my official car. I turned on the siren. He drove to the house where Marcus Washington was sleeping drunk, probably dreaming that he had gotten away with yet another beating of his wife. He was waiting to wake up to the worst nightmare of his life. Because when you hit a woman in Meridian, Mississippi, you've already committed a crime. But what happens when you hit the sheriff's daughter? Honey, you just signed your own arrest warrant. Have you ever felt such intense anger that you had to choose between revenge and justice? How did you choose? It was 2:15 a.m. when I parked my patrol car in front of Marcus and Tasha's house. A beautiful house in the suburbs, well-kept lawn, white picket fence, American flag on the porch, the perfect American house hiding a perfect American hell. I knocked on the door, loudly, authoritatively, the way only the police knock. Nothing. I hit it again, even harder. Finally, I heard a noise inside. Shuffling footsteps, someone cursing under their breath. The door opened and there was Marcus. White tank top, gray sweatpants, eyes red from drinking and sleep. When he saw me in full uniform, his face changed from anger to confusion to fear, all in 3 seconds. Sheriff Washington, what are you doing here? Is Tasha all right? She hasn't come home yet, and I was very worried about her. Liar. A major liar. Marcus Washington, I began in an official voice, you are being arrested for domestic assault, spousal violence, and death threats. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided for you. His face went white. What? What are you talking about? I didn't do anything. Turn around, hands behind your back, now. Sheriff, this is a misunderstanding. I don't know what Tasha told you, but she's lying. She fell, that's all. She's clumsy, you know how she is. She probably just got embarrassed and made up some story. I took a step forward. My hand went to the cold side of the gun. Not to draw it, but to make it clear that I was ready if needed. Marcus, I'll repeat it one more time. Turn around, hands behind your back, or I'll make things very difficult for you. He finally obeyed, turning his back. I put the handcuffs on him, tightening them perhaps a little more than necessary. That's nonsense, he said as I led him to the car. You can't arrest me based on what my wife says. It's her word against mine. There's no proof. I opened the back door of the patrol car and pushed his head down, like we do with all prisoners. Actually, Marcus, there's plenty of evidence. Your wife has marks on her face, her neck, all over her body. We're going to do a forensic examination tomorrow morning. We're going to take pictures of every bruise, every cut, every mark your hands left on her. And then we're going to prosecute you to the full extent of the law. I closed the door with him inside and went back to the front. While driving to the police station, Marcus didn't stop talking. Threats, promises, lies. You're doing this because she's your daughter. You're abusing your power. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to take away your badge. Wait until my lawyer hears about this. I turned on the radio to drown out his voice. I played a gospel station. Kirk Franklin was singing I Smile. The irony didn't go unnoticed. We arrived at the police station at 2:45 a.m. I processed Marcus personally. I took his fingerprints. I took his identification photo. I put him in a cell alone. How long are you going to keep me here? I have the right to know. The hearing will be on Monday morning. Today is Friday, so do the math. His face turned red. You can't leave me until Monday. I have work. I have responsibilities. You should have thought about that before hitting your wife, he replied calmly and left, leaving him screaming in the cell. Detective Johnson, who was on duty that night, looked at me with a worried expression. Sheriff, with all due respect, are you sure about this? Arresting your son-in-law in the middle of the night? We're going to talk. I'm going to say you're abusing your position. Let them talk, Johnson. The law is the law. Domestic violence is a crime. And I'm going to do my job no matter who the criminal is, even if it's against the family. But Johnson was right. I was walking a fine line, a very fine line, between justice and personal revenge. Between doing my job and using my badge to protect my daughter. I got home at 3:30 a.m. The house was quiet. Tasha must be sleeping. I took off my uniform and put my pajamas back on. But I couldn't sleep. I lay there staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything. At 7 a.m., Tasha got confused in the guest room. I got up, went to the kitchen, and started making coffee. When she appeared at the door, her face still swollen, still bruised, my heart broke again. "Good morning, Mom," she said softly. "Good morning, my dear. How are you feeling?" "It feels like I've been run over by a truck." She tried to smile but groaned in pain. "Everything hurts. Come, sit down. I made coffee and I'll make some eggs and toast for you." While I was cooking, Tasha was quiet. Finally, she asked, "Mom, where did you go last night? I heard you leave." I placed the plate of scrambled eggs in front of her. I sat on the other side of the table. I looked her in the eyes. "I went to arrest Marcus." Her fork fell onto her plate with a loud thud. "You what?" "I went to the house, knocked on the door, read him his rights, handcuffed him, and took him to the police station. He's in a cell now. The bail hearing is on Monday." Tasha turned white. "Mom, you can't do that. Not without me reporting it first. Not without me deciding if I want to report it." "Honey, when I saw your face last night, when you told me he threatened to kill you, I made the decision any mother would make. I protected my daughter. And as sheriff, I did my job. Marcus committed a crime. He will pay for that crime." "But Mom, now it's going to be in the media. Everyone will know. The church, his friends, his people at work. How am I going to confront anyone?" "Tasha," I took her hand across the table. "You have nothing to be ashamed of. You're a victim. He's the abuser. And anyone who judges you instead of supporting you doesn't deserve to be in your life." The tears started to fall again. "But I love him, Mom. I know he did something terrible, but I still love him. Part of me wants to forgive him, wants to believe he can change." That was the problem. The problem I saw in so many women. Love mixed with fear. Hope mixed with reality. The desire that the man they married could somehow go back to being that man, instead of the monster he had become. "Honey, let me tell you something," I began slowly. "When your dad was alive, he treated me like a queen. He never raised his voice to me. He never raised a hand. He worked 2 jobs to provide for us. He came home tired, but he always had a smile for you. That's what a real man looks like. A man who loves doesn't hit. A man who respects doesn't threaten. Marcus isn't the man you thought he was. He never was. But everyone at church adores him. He's a deacon. He preaches sometimes. How can someone who talks about God beat his wife? Because demons wear suits and carry Bibles too, honey. Just because someone knows how to quote scripture doesn't mean they live by scripture. And Marcus? He was using the church, using God as cover, as a mask to hide who he really is. My cell phone rang. It was Nathan, my lawyer. "Sheriff, I've prepared the documents. Restraining order, emergency divorce petition, everything. When do you want me to file?" "File everything away today. And Nathan, see if you can expedite the restraining order. I want it to go into effect before Monday, when Marcus posts bail." "Understood, Sheriff." When I left, Tasha looked at me with an expression I couldn't read. Fear, gratitude, anger. "Have you started the divorce papers yet?" she said quietly. "Yes, because, darling, you can't go back to him. I won't let you. And if you try, I'll fight you. Because I'm not going to sit and watch my daughter become a statistic. Not after everything I've seen in my job." The rest of the day passed in a blur. I took Tasha to the hospital. We did a full examination. We took pictures of every injury. The doctor examined her and found that she had bruised ribs from the punches to her stomach. Mrs. Washington, The doctor, an older black man named Dr. Patterson, said sadly, "You were very lucky. Those punches to the stomach, if they had been a little harder, could have caused internal bleeding. You could have died." Tasha started crying again, and I saw something changing in her eyes, the fear starting to turn into anger, the denial beginning to become accessible. We returned home in the late afternoon. Tasha went to her room to lie down. I sat on the porch with my Bible and a cup of coffee. I read Psalm 5:5-6. "Fools will not stand in your sight. They hate all who practice iniquity." Bloodthirsty man. Marcus had my daughter's blood on his hands, and now he will pay. But something in my spirit was bothering me, a small voice saying, "Glory, are you doing this for justice or for revenge?" Honestly, I didn't know. And at that moment, I didn't care. When someone hurts someone you love, where is the line drawn between protecting and seeking revenge? Have you ever had to figure it out? On Saturday morning, I woke up early and went to church as I always did. It was my 35-year habit. No matter how tired I was, no matter what had happened during the week, Saturday morning was my time with God in the empty temple, cleaning, praying, preparing everything for Sunday service. But today was different. Today, I had a purpose. Pastor Jerome Williams was a good man, 68 years old, gray hair, round glasses, a voice that sounded like warm honey. He had been my pastor for 20 years. I had leaned on him when my husband died. He had prayed with me when I decided to become a police officer. He had been there every step of the way. I found him in the office at 7:30 a.m., having coffee and reading the Bible as he did every morning. "Sister Gloria," he added with that warm smile, "you're early today. Is everything all right?" I closed the door behind me. I sat in the chair facing his desk, and I told him everything about Tasha arriving in the early hours of Friday morning, about the marks on her face, about Marcus, about the arrest. Pastor Jerome remained silent for a long time when he finished. Finally, he took off his glasses, cleaned them slowly, and sighed deeply. "Gloria, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that this happened to Tasha, and you have my full support in protecting your daughter." "But?" I wanted to ask, because I felt there was a but coming. "But," he continued carefully, "Marcus is a member of this church. He's a deacon, and when the congregation finds out he's in jail, there will be questions. There will be those who will want to defend him, who will say that every story has two sides. Pastor, with all due respect, there aren't two sides when it comes to domestic violence. There's an abuser and a victim. That's it. I know, Gloria. I know. But you know how church people are, especially when it involves a church leader. They'll want to believe there's some explanation, some justification. So what are you saying? That I should have kept quiet? That I should have let my daughter get beaten in silence to protect Marcus's trust in the church? No, child. That's not what I'm saying." Pastor Jerome leaned forward. "What I'm saying is, get ready. Because when this becomes public tomorrow at the service, there will be backlash. There will be people who will question you, your daughter, even your own integrity as sheriff." He was right. I knew he was right. But it still hurt to hear. "Pastor, may I ask you something?" "Of course, child. In all these years that Marcus has been a deacon here, have you ever suspected anything? Have you ever seen signs that he might be violent?" Pastor Jerome fell silent again. But this time, the silence was different. It was the silence of someone who knew something but didn't want to say it. "Pastor?" he insisted. He sighed again, more heavily this time. "About 8 years ago, Sister Diane came to talk to me. You know Diane, she works with Tasha in the women's ministry. She told me she saw Marcus in the Red Lobster parking lot hugging a woman who wasn't Tasha." My blood boiled. "And you didn't say anything?" "Diane asked me not to speak. She said she wasn't sure what she'd seen, that maybe it was just a friend, that she didn't want to start a drama without proof. And he paused, clear shame on his face. I didn't want to believe that one of my deacons would be capable of that, so I let it go. I prayed about it, but I didn't confront Marcus. And now I'm wondering if this could have been prevented if I had acted. Who was the woman? I want the answer." Diane said she was a younger woman. She worked at the downtown bank. Her name was something like Keisha or Kendra. Keisha, a mistress. the woman Marcus beat my daughter for when he was confronted. Pastor, is there anyone else in the church who knew about this? Not that I know of. Diane told me in confidence, and I kept it confidential. I misjudged it, now I see. I left the pastor's office feeling an even heavier weight. It wasn't just Marcus who had failed Tasha. It was an entire system. A church that valued reputation over truth, that protected abusers in the name of giving the benefit of the doubt, that silenced victims in the name of not causing division. I got home and found Tasha in the kitchen making pancakes. She was wearing one of my dresses, which was too big for her. Her face was still swollen, but the colors of the bruises were changing from purple to greenish yellow. Good morning, Mom. I made breakfast. I thought it was the least I could do after you let me stay here. I sat at the table while she placed a plate of pancakes in front of me. They smelled of buttermilk and vanilla, just like I used to make them for her when I was a child. Honey, we need to talk about tomorrow. The service? She said, sitting down on the other side of the table. Yes, news of Marcus's arrest will spread. You know how this town is, and the church will be full of people with opinions. I know, Mom. I've been thinking about it all night, and I've decided something. What is that? I'm going to church. I'm going to sit in the front row like I always do, and I'm going to testify. I'm going to tell the whole congregation what Marcus did. Because if I hide, if I'm ashamed, then he wins. Then he manages to make everyone think I'm just thinking it or exaggerating. Pride filled my chest. That's my girl. That's my strong and brave girl. But Mama, there's something you need to know. Something I haven't told you yet. Her tone made me nervous. What is this, darling? Tasha took a deep breath. Marcus didn't just hit me on Friday. It wasn't the first time. The world stopped. What do you mean by, it wasn't the first time? He's been hitting me for almost a year now. It started small. A shove when he was angry. A squeeze on the arm that was too hard. Then it escalated. Slaps. Punches. Choking. Friday was just the worst time. It was the time he went too far, and I finally had the courage to leave. Tears streamed down her face as she spoke, but she didn't stop. Is it Keisha? She's not just a mistress. She's pregnant, Mom. 3 months pregnant with his baby. I found out when I read the messages on his phone. They're so convenient to start a life together. He was going to leave me anyway. He was just waiting for the right timing. My heart broke into 1,000 pieces. Oh, darling. Oh my God, darling. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Because I was ashamed. Because you're a sheriff. You're the strongest woman I know. How could I admit to you that I was too weak to leave? That I was letting a man use me as a punching bag? I lifted my chair, went to her, and held her in my arms while she cried. Tasha Marie, listen to me. You are not weak. Survivors of abuse are not weak. They are the strongest because they endure things that would break most people. And you had the courage to finally leave. That takes strength you can't even imagine. But I waited so long, Mom. A year. A whole year of being beaten, of being humiliated, of being threatened. What's wrong with me that I stayed like this? There's nothing wrong with you, baby. What's wrong is with him, with a system that teaches women to endure, with a culture that says, stand by your man, no matter how badly he treats you, with a church that preaches submission without preaching responsibility. I cupped her face in my hands. But darling, now that I know, now that I have the complete picture, let's do something. Something that will ensure Marcus never hurts you or any other woman again. What do you have in mind, Mom? I'm sorry. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of a woman who had a plan that went beyond just an arrest, a plan that would expose Marcus completely. Monday morning, when Marcus has his bail hearing, we'll be there, and we're going to ask the judge to deny bail on the grounds that he is a continuing danger. And if the judge grants bail anyway, we're going to make sure the conditions are so strict that Marcus won't be able to do anything. But Mom, his lawyer will fight against this. Let him fight. Because, darling, what Marcus's lawyer doesn't know is that I spent the weekend digging, and I found things. Things that will make that judge think twice before releasing Marcus. What kind of things? I leaned closer and whispered, even though we were the only ones home. Marcus has a history. 2 ex-girlfriends before you. Both filed restraining orders against him. But he always had good lawyers who made the cases disappear. Always settled out of court. But the records still exist. Buried, but they exist, and I have access to them. Tasha's eyes widened. He hit other women before me? Yes. And one of them, a girl named Monique Harris, she ended up in the hospital with broken ribs. Just like you almost did. Marcus has a pattern, and patterns don't lie. How did you find that out? Honey, I'm a sheriff. I have resources. I have contacts in other counties, in other states. And when you mess with my daughter, I use every resource I have to make sure you pay. Tasha was quiet for a long moment. Then she asked, Mom, is this okay? Are you using your position as sheriff for a personal matter? I hesitated, because honestly, I was walking a fine line, a very fine line, between using my position to do justice and abusing my position for personal revenge. It's fine, I finally said, because I'm going to investigate a crime. The fact that the crime is your husband is unintentional. Any sheriff would do the same thing. But even as I said those words, a part of me knew it wasn't entirely true. Another sheriff might be more cautious. Maybe he'd refuse the case due to a conflict of interest. Maybe he'd transfer it to another jurisdiction. But I wasn't just another sheriff. I was Tasha's mother. And it would be hell if I let bureaucracy get in the way of protecting my daughter. On Sunday morning at 10 a.m., Tasha and I entered the New Hope Baptist Church. The church was packed as always. 300 people, maybe more. Mostly black people from the community, some white families too. Everyone dressed in their Sunday best. When we entered, the conversation stopped. Eyes turned to us. I could hear the suggestions beginning. That's Sheriff Washington. And this is her daughter, Tasha, Marcus's wife. Where is Marcus? Shouldn't he be here to lead the fellowship? Girl, didn't you know? He was arrested Friday night for assaulting Tasha. No way, Marcus. But he's a deacon. He's such a good man. That's what everyone says until you see what they do behind closed doors. Tasha held my hand tightly as we walked down the central aisle. Her face was still marked, impossible to completely hide even with makeup. And she wasn't committed. She wanted people to see. We sat in the front row, our usual spot. We waited for the service to begin. Pastor Geronimo stepped up to the pulpit at 10:15 a.m. He looked at us with an expression that mixed compassion and apprehension. Then he began. Church family, before we begin the service today, we need to address something painful, something that affects one of our own. The church fell completely silent. Many of you have heard that Brother Marcus Washington was arrested Friday night, and I'm here to tell you that the rumors are true. He was charged with domestic violence against his wife, Sister Tasha. Gasps echoed through the church. People looked at each other in shock. Some looked at Tasha with pity, others with something that seemed suspicious. Now, I know some of you will want to defend Brother Marcus. I want to say that he is a good man, that there must be a mistake. A man in the third row cried out. It was Deacon Miller, one of Marcus's friends. Pastor, with all due respect, shouldn't we hear both sides before condemning a brother? Pastor Jerome looked at him with steady eyes. Deacon Miller, when a woman shows up covered in bruises, when medical reports confirm broken ribs and internal injuries, there is no other side. There is only the truth. And the truth is that a member of this congregation abused his wife, and we need to confront this, not hide it. Another woman spoke. It was Sister Patricia, one of the church elders. But Pastor, what does this mean for Marcus's ministry? Is he still going to be a deacon? Marcus Washington has been removed from all leadership positions in this church with immediate effect, Pastor Jerome declared firmly. And he will not be welcome back until he has complete anger management, undergoes therapy, and demonstrates genuine repentance. Not just words, but actions. Tasha opened my hand more firmly. I could feel her tremendously. And now, Pastor Jerome continued, I want to give Sister Tasha a chance to speak, if she wants to, because her story deserves to be heard. Tasha spoke slowly. She walked to the pulpit with her head held high, and when she began to speak, her voice was clear and strong. Church, many of you have known me since I was a child. You watched me grow up in this church. You came to my wedding 3 years ago. You thought, as I did, that Marcus was a man of God, a man of character. She paused, tears beginning to fall. But behind closed doors, Marcus was different. He was cruel, violent, abusive, And for a year, I suffered in silence because I was ashamed, because I understood it was my fault, because I thought that if I were a better wife, he would stop. Women in the congregation also began to cry. Some men looked at the floor, uncomfortable. On Friday night, Marcus beat me worse than ever. He punched me in the face, in the stomach. He choked me and said that next time he would kill me. And I finally found the courage to leave, to go to my mother, to ask for help. She looked directly at the congregation. So if any of you are judging me now, if you're thinking I should have stayed, that I should have tried harder, I ask you to look at my face, look at the bruises, and ask yourselves, is it worth it? Is it worth it for a woman to almost die to maintain a false image of a perfect marriage? Absolute silence. And to the women here who may be going through the same thing, who may be afraid to come out, I say, you are not alone. There is help, there is hope, there is life after abuse, and you deserve better. When Tasha returned and sat beside me, the church erupted in applause. Not everyone did. Some still seemed skeptical, but most people stood and clapped. Several women came to us after the service in tears, thanking Tasha for her bravery. One woman in particular, Sister Angela, sets Tasha aside. Honey, thank you for speaking up, because my husband has been beating me for 5 years, and I've always been afraid to say anything. But after today, after hearing you, I'm ready. I'm ready to leave too. At that moment, I realized something. Tasha's testimony wasn't just about her. It was about every woman who has suffered in silence. It was about breaking the cycle. It was about bringing light to the darkness. And perhaps, just perhaps, something good could come out of all this pain. Have you ever had to find the courage to tell your truth, even knowing that some people wouldn't believe you? What was that like? Monday morning arrived both too quickly and too slowly at the same time. Marcus's premarital hearing was scheduled for 9 a.m. at the county courthouse. Tasha and I arrived at 8:30 a.m., along with Nathan, my lawyer. The courtroom was packed. There were people from the church. He had Marcus's work colleagues. There were even some local reporters because the news of a church deacon being arrested for domestic violence had spread through the small town like wildfire. And then there was Keisha, a mistress, sitting at the back of the courtroom, hand on her belly, which was already beginning to show her pregnancy, looking at the floor as if she wanted to disappear. It's her, Tasha whispered to me, pointing discreetly. That's the woman he was cheating on. I studied Keisha for a while. She was younger, maybe 24 or 25, pretty, light brown skin, hair in long braids, dressed conservatively, as if trying not to draw attention. But everyone knew who she was, and the looks she was getting weren't exactly friendly. At 9:00 sharp, the judge entered. Judge Harold Thompson, a black man of about 65, known for being fair but tough. I had worked with him on several cases over the years. He respected me as sheriff, but I also knew he wasn't going to give me special treatment just because Tasha was my daughter. All rise, the bailiff announced. Everyone cheered. The judge sat down, and then Marcus was brought in. He was wearing an orange prison uniform with handcuffs on his hands and feet. His face was different. He was no longer the confident, smiling Marcus who preached in church. He was a tired Marcus with dark circles under his eyes, unshaven and red-eyed. When he looked at Tasha, something crossed his face. Anger, remorse, fear, it was hard to tell. State of Mississippi versus Marcus Terrell Washington, the judge announced. The charges are domestic assault, aggravated assault, and criminal threat. How does the defendant plead? Marcus's lawyer asked. He was a white man in an expensive suit with perfectly combed hair. James Rutledge, known in the city for defending anyone if the price was right. Innocent, Your Honor. My client maintains his innocence and requests that bail be set so that he may await trial at home. Your Honor, Nathan also stated, the state requests that bail be denied. Mr. Washington represents a continuing danger to the victim and the community. He has a history of violence that needs to be disclosed to the court. The judge looked at Nathan with interest. History? Elaborate, counselor. Nathan opened a folder and began to read. Your Honor, records show that Marcus Washington had 2 restraining orders filed against him in the last 10 years. One in 2014 by a former girlfriend, Monique Harris, who alleged physical abuse including broken ribs. Another in 2017 by a woman named Jasmine Roberts, who alleged choking and threats. Both cases were settled out of court with non-disclosure agreements, but the initial police reports still exist. Murmurs filled the courtroom. Marcus was as white as a sheet. His lawyer jumped up. "Your Honor, these cases were dismissed. There were no convictions. You can't use that against my client." "In fact, attorney," the judge said in a firm voice, "I can consider prior allegations at bail hearings, especially when there is a pattern." "Continue, Mr. Hayes." Nathan continued. "Furthermore, Your Honor, the victim in this case, Tasha Washington, provided medical records showing extensive injuries, visible bruises, lacerations, and bruised ribs. Photos were taken that clearly show the severity of the assault, and most concerningly, Ms. Washington testifies that this was not an isolated incident, but part of a pattern of abuse over the past year. Your Honor, Rutledge argued, my client is a respected member of the community. He is a deacon in his church, has a stable job as a manager at a construction firm, and has no prior convictions. He deserves the opportunity to await trial at home with his family. He has no family to go back to, Nathan Cortu said. His wife filed for emergency divorce and obtained a restraining order. She doesn't want him near her. Your Honor, there's another complication. What complication? The judge asked. Mr. Washington has been having an affair with a woman named Keisha Monroe. She is present in this court today, and she is pregnant with his child. The attack on Ms. Washington occurred when she confronted him about this affair. The judge looked toward where Keisha was sitting. She shrank back in her chair, tears beginning to fall. So let me understand, the judge said, looking directly at Marcus. You were cheating on your wife, she found out, and your response was to beat her until her ribs were broken? Marcus opened his mouth to speak, but his lawyer touched his arm, silencing him. Your Honor, Rutledge tried again. Emotions were running high. It was a moment of poor judgment. My client deeply regrets his actions and is willing to participate in anger management, counseling, everything that a break requires. Regret doesn't fix broken ribs, the judge said dryly, and it certainly doesn't erase a pattern of abuse against women. He paused, looking at the papers in front of him. Then I looked directly at Marcus. Mr. Washington, I've had several similar cases throughout my 30 years at this bank, and one thing I've learned, abusers only stop recently. They promise, they cry, they swear they'll change, and then they kill their victims. Marcus was trembling now. Bail denied, the judge declared, banging his gavel. You will await trial in prison, and if you are convicted, and I believe you will be, you will face the maximum sentence. Your Honor, please, Rutledge protested. This is excessive. Denying bail should be reserved for the most dangerous criminals. Domestic abusers are the most dangerous criminals, counsel, the judge retorted. They kill more women in this country than serial killers and mass shooters combined. So yes, I'm denying bail. Next case. Officers began to take Marcus back. But before they could, Marcus turned and, crossing the courtroom, said, Tasha, baby, I'm sorry. Please, baby. You know I love you. Tell them you forgive me. Tell them to let me go. Tasha stood up, and in a voice that echoed through the silent courtroom, she said, I don't forgive you, Marcus, and I never will. You took advantage of my love, my trust, and you abused me in the worst possible way. So no, you can rot in that cell. You deserved it. Her words landed like bombs. Marcus collapsed, practically being dragged away by the officers while he continued screaming. No, no, you're my wife. You took vows, for better or for worse. You can't just give up on me. You gave up on us when you raised your fist at me, Tasha retorted. When you put your hands around my neck, when you prioritized your mistress over our marriage. So don't you dare play the victim now. When Marcus was finally removed, the courtroom erupted in conversation. Reporters rushed out to report the news. Churchgoers looked at each other in shock. And Keisha? Keisha simply sat there crying, hand on her stomach, probably thinking that the father of her unborn baby would spend the next few years in prison. Outside the courthouse, a reporter tried to approach Tasha with a microphone. Ms. Washington, how do you feel about the judge denying bail? Tasha looked directly at the camera. I feel safe. For the first time in a year, I feel safe. And I hope that every woman out there in an abusive relationship sees this and realizes that there is justice, that you don't have to suffer in silence, that there are people who will believe in you, fight for you, protect you. Back home, Tasha and I sat in the kitchen having coffee. She was quiet, processing everything. "Mom, do you think I was too harsh?" she finally said. "Telling him I'll never forgive him?" I took her hand. "Honey, forgiveness is a journey, and you don't have to be there yet. Maybe you never will be. And that's okay, because forgiveness isn't about him. It's about you, about letting go, about getting angry when you're ready, not before. Pastor Jerome always preaches about forgiveness, about turning the other cheek. Pastor Jerome never had ribs broken by someone who promised to love him," I said confidently. "Turning the other cheek doesn't mean standing there and letting someone beat you to death. It means not seeking revenge. And dear, you're not seeking revenge. You're seeking justice. There's a difference." My cell phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. I answered cautiously. "Sheriff Washington." "Sheriff, my name is Monique Harris. You don't know me, but I saw a news report about Marcus Washington's arrest, and I needed to call because he did the same thing to me 8 years ago." My heart raced. "Ms. Harris, I would very much like to speak with you. Would you be willing to meet?" Yes, I would. Because when I saw her daughter on the news, standing firm, telling her truth, I realized that I also need to tell mine. Marcus made me sign a confidentiality agreement when he made the deal. But if he's being sued, maybe that agreement is worthless now. Maybe I can finally tell what he did to me. Ms. Harris, if you testify at the trial, it could make a huge difference. Then I will testify. Because no woman should have to go through what I went through, what your daughter went through. Marcus needs to be stopped, once and for all. When I hung up, I looked at Tasha with emotion. "Honey, we just received our corroborating witness. One of Marcus's ex-girlfriends wants to testify about what he did to her." "Seriously? She's willing to introduce herself?" "She is, because you gave her courage, Tasha. Your testimony yesterday at church, your strength today in court, is inspiring other women to speak up as well." Tasha began to cry, but this time they weren't tears of pain. They were tears of something different. Hope, purpose, the realization that her pain could have meaning. "Mom, maybe God allowed this to happen not only for me, but to help other women as well. Maybe this is my calling, to be a voice for the voiceless, to stand up for those who are too afraid to defend themselves." "Maybe it is, darling," I said, hugging her. "Maybe it is." That night, after Tasha went to sleep, I stayed alone in the room with my Bible. I read Romans 12:19. "Do not take revenge, my dear friends, or give place to God's wrath, for it is written, 'It is mine to avenge, I will repay,' says the Lord." For days I had struggled with this, with the line between justice and revenge, with using my position as sheriff to protect my daughter versus abusing my position for personal vengeance. But looking back now, I see something. I hadn't sought revenge. I had sought justice. There was a difference. Vengeance would have been me picking up my gun and shooting Marcus. Justice was me using the law, the system, to hold him accountable. And most importantly, it wasn't just about Tasha anymore. It was about Monique, Jasmine, all the other women Marcus had hurt, and all the women he could hurt in the future if he wasn't stopped. Sometimes God uses ordinary people to bring about justice. And if he chose to use a sheriff who also became a protective mother, then so be it. I was at peace. Finally, I was at peace. Have you ever had to fight for justice for someone you love, even when others questioned your motives? How did you maintain inner peace? 3 months have passed. 3 months of Tasha living with me, healing, going to therapy, rebuilding her life. 3 months of Marcus in jail awaiting trial. And finally, the day arrived. The courtroom was packed, even more so than at the bride's hearing, because now it wasn't just Meridian paying attention. The story had spread. The state media had picked it up. A story about a church deacon, a respected man, being exposed as a serial abuser. Tasha, Monique Harris, and surprisingly, Jasmine Roberts, the other ex, all 3 were witnesses. 3 women, 3 stories. Same pattern. The prosecutor, a black man named David Chen, had built a solid case. Medical evidence, photos, testimony, and something else that no one expected. A diary. Tasha had kept a diary during the last year of abuse. Every incident, every threat, every time Marcus had raised his hand, written in painful detail. Communication records with specific descriptions. I started writing, Tasha explained before the trial, because I was afraid of forgetting, afraid of downplaying it. Marcus always told me I was exaggerating, that it hadn't been that bad. So I wrote everything down to remind myself of the truth. That diary became the centerpiece of the case. The trial lasted 5 days. 5 exhausting days of testimony, of reliving traumas, of Marcus sitting there with that expression that alternated between anger and self-pity. On the 3rd day, Keisha was called to testify, not for the prosecution, but for the defense. Marcus's lawyer had thought she could help, could paint Marcus as a good man who had made a mistake. He was wrong. Mrs. Monroe, Rutledge, Marcus's lawyer, began gently. "You are carrying Mr. Washington's child, correct?" "Yes," Keisha replied softly, her hand on her belly, which was now quite prominent at 6 months. "And you had a relationship with him. You know him well. Would you say he's a violent man?" Keisha remained silent for a long moment. She looked at Marcus. She looked at Tasha. She looked at the judges. And then, in a firm voice, she said, "Yes, he is violent. He hit me too." The courtroom erupted. Marcus's lawyer was as white as a sheet. "Ms. Monroe, that's not what you told me when we prepared for this testimony." "I know," Keisha said, tears streaming down her face. "You told me to defend him. Marcus told me to defend him. I promised that if I helped him, he would take care of me and the baby when he got out. But I can't. I can't lie anymore. I can't protect a man who hurt me, who hurt Tasha, who hurt other women." "Your Honor," said Rutledge desperately, "I request a recess. My witness is clearly confused." "I'm not confused," Keisha said louder now. "I'm finally telling the truth. Marcus hit me when I said I was pregnant. He said a baby would complicate things. He slapped me and told me to get rid of him. When I refused, he started ignoring me. And then, when Tasha caught us, he threw me to the wolves completely. He stopped answering my calls. He left me to deal with this alone." Prosecutor David Chen. "Your Honor, may I approach this witness?" "Go ahead, advisor." David went to Keisha. "Mrs. Monroe, are you willing to show the court the marks you mentioned?" Keisha hesitated, so I took off my coat. She had bruises on her arms, old but still visible. "These are from 2 weeks ago," she explained. "Marcus called me from jail using his phone. He told me to visit. When I visited, he squeezed through a partition as far as he could and grabbed my arm. He squeezed so hard it left marks. He told me that if I didn't defend him in court, he would make sure I regretted it. He said he had friends on the outside who could hurt me." "Did you report this incident?" David asked. "No, I was scared. But after hearing Tasha's testimony, after hearing Monique and Jasmine, I realized I had to be brave too, for my love. Because if Marcus is capable of this while he's in prison, imagine what he would do if he got out." When Keisha stepped down from the stand, she looked directly at Tasha and murmured, "I'm sorry." Tasha agreed, not with forgiveness, but with understanding. Because both were victims. Both had been manipulated by a man who knew exactly how to control, how to threaten, how to destroy. On the 5th day, Marcus decided to testify in his own defense, against his lawyer's advice, because he truly believed he could charm the jury as he had charmed so many others. He was wrong. David Chen destroyed him without questioning. "Mr. Washington, you testified that you never hit your wife, but we have medical records showing broken ribs and extensive bruising. How do you explain that?" "She fell," Marcus said with that false confidence. "She's clumsy. She always has been." "Did she fall and break 3 ribs? Did she fall and get a black eye? Did she fall and get fingerprints all over her neck?" "I don't know how she got those injuries, but it wasn't from me." "So you're saying that Tasha Washington, Monique Harris, Jasmine Roberts, and Keisha Monroe, all 4 of them, are lying about you?" "Yes. They are all conspiring against me because they are bitter and jealous women." "Bitter and jealous of what, Mr. Washington?" "About the fact that I moved on, that I didn't want them anymore." "So you admit that you had relationships with all of these women?" "Yes, but I never hurt any of them." David picked up a stack of papers. "Mr. Washington, I have police reports here from 2014 and 2017. I have medical records. I have photos. I have a diary written by your wife detailing an entire year of abuse. And now I have Keisha Monroe's testimony showing that even in prison, you continue to be abusive. So I ask again, are all these women lying? Marcus started sweating. I don't know what to say. They're all making this seem worse than it was. Worse than broken ribs? Worse than death threats? Mr. Washington, just how bad does something have to be before you admit that maybe, just maybe, you have a problem? I have no problem, Marcus exploded, slamming his fist on the support. These women need to learn when to shut up and stop disrespecting their men. If they had just obeyed, if they had just known their place, none of this would have happened. The courtroom fell into absolute silence, because at that moment, Marcus had clearly defined who he was. Not a charming deacon, not a respectable member of the community, but the abuser, the controller, the man who believed women were property to be controlled. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. They returned with the verdict. We find the defendant, Marcus Terrell Washington, guilty on all counts. Guilty of domestic violence, guilty of aggravated assault, guilty of criminal threats, guilty of witness intimidation. Marcus broke down. He started to cry. No, no, no. This can't be happening. Tasha, darling, please, tell them you forgive me. Tell them to give me another chance. Tasha stood up. She looked at him one last time and said, Goodbye, Marcus. I hope you find peace, but you'll never find it with me. When the sentence came a week later, the judge showed no mercy. Mr. Washington, you have abused numerous women over the years. You used your position in the church to cover up your behavior. You have shown zero remorse and, in fact, continued to threaten and intimidate even to the point of imprisonment. You are a danger to society. I sentence you to 15 years in prison without the possibility of parole for at least 10 years. And when you get out, you will have a permanent restraining order preventing you from contacting any of your victims. You may never set foot in Meridian County again. 15 years. Marcus was taken away screaming, threatening, cursing. But his screams changed nothing. Justice had been served. Outside the courthouse, journalists surrounded Tasha. But this time, she wasn't nervous. She was confident. Mrs. Washington, how do you feel about a sentence? I feel that justice has been served. Not only for me, but for all the women Marcus hurt. I hope this case sends a message. Abuse will not be tolerated. Not in our homes, not in our clothes, not anywhere. What do you plan to do now? Tasha smiled. A real, genuine smile. I'm going back to school. I'm going to become a counselor for women in abusive relationships. Because if my pain can help other people, then it wasn't in vain. 3 months later, Tasha moved into her own apartment. Small but cozy. She started community college, studying to be a licensed therapist. She had joined a support group for survivors. She had even started dating again, slowly, carefully. And Keisha had the baby, a beautiful boy. She didn't name him Marcus. She named him Michael, in honor of her father. And surprisingly, Tasha reached out to her, not as friends, but as women who shared a trauma, who understood each other. It's not the baby's fault, Tasha explained to me when I asked why she had offered support to Keisha. That child didn't ask to have Marcus as a father. And Keisha, she's a victim too. If we women don't support each other, who will? As for me, I'm still a sheriff, but I'd changed. I'd started a program at Meridian to help victims of domestic violence, training for police officers on how to handle these cases, resources for women who need to leave. And every Friday night, Tasha, me, Keisha, Monique, Jasmine, and several other women would get together at my house. A support group, a sisterhood, women who had survived and were now thriving. A year after the trial, on the anniversary of the day, Tasha knocked on my door with her face shattered. We held a ceremony. It wasn't a funeral, but a celebration. A celebration of survival, of strength, of sisterhood. Tasha read a poem that she had written. I was broken, but not destroyed. I was hurt, but not defeated. I was abused, but not broken. Because I am more than what he made me. I am a woman who survived. I am a woman who stood up for herself. I am a woman who has found her voice. And that voice will speak for all those who are still silent. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. At the end of the night, after everyone had left, Tasha and I sat on the porch like we used to when she was a child. "Mom, thank you," she said gently. "Why, my dear?" "For not letting me give up, for not letting me go back to him, for using everything you had, everything you were, to protect me, for showing me what true love looks like." I held her hand. "Honey, this is what mothers do. We protect, we fight, we never give up, ever. And you know what's funny?" she continues. "I spent so much time thinking I needed a man to be complete, but now I realize I'm complete on my own. With God, with you, with my sisters. I don't need a man to validate me." "That's right, darling. And when the right man comes along, and he will, you'll know, because he'll treat you with respect, with kindness, with true love. And until then, you don't need anyone." We sat in comfortable silence, listening to the crickets, feeling the Mississippi breeze. And for the first time in a long time, we both felt peace, true peace, a kind of peace that comes after the storm, after the battle, when you survived and emerged stronger. Marcus had tried to destroy my daughter, but instead, he had forged her into something stronger, more resilient, more powerful than he could ever have imagined. And that was the best revenge of all. Have you ever gone through something terrible that, in the end, made you stronger than you would have been without that pain? How did you transform your pain into purpose? Today, Tasha has her own counseling office, Hope After Hurt Counseling Services, in downtown Meridian. She helps women leave abusive relationships. She even started a shelter for those who need a safe place to stay. Marcus is still in prison, 8 more years to serve. I heard he finally started therapy there. He finally began confronting the demons that made him who he was. I don't know if he'll ever truly change, but at least he can't hurt anyone where he is. Keisha got married to a good man, a teacher, who treats her well and loves little Michael as if he were his own. She and Tasha aren't close, but there's mutual respect, an understanding between the survivors. As for me, I retired as sheriff last year, but I haven't stopped working. Now I help Tasha run a shelter. I use all my experience, all my contacts, all my years in law enforcement to protect women in need. And today, Tuesday night, our support group is still meeting. Now there are almost 30 women, Black, white, Latina, Asian, young, old, and those in between, all with different stories, but with the same pain, the same strength, the same hope. Yesterday, a 22-year-old woman named Angela came to the group for the first time. Bruised face, frightened eyes, exactly like Tasha had been 2 years ago. Tasha sat down with her, held her hand, and said, "Honey, you're in the right place. We understand you, we believe you, and we're going to help you get out and stay out. You're not alone. You'll never be alone again." Angela cried, and then, in a firm voice, she said, "I want to file a complaint. I want him to pay." "Then we're going to make it happen," Tasha promised. "We're going to walk with you every step of the way." Looking at my daughter now, at the woman she has become, I hardly recognize the broken and frightened girl who knocked on my door that Friday morning. Instead, she is a warrior, a survivor, a healer, and me? I'm just a proud mom. A mom who did what had to be done. A mom who will never apologize for protecting her daughter with all the resources she had. Because in the end, it doesn't matter what people say. It doesn't matter if they questioned my motivations. It doesn't matter if they thought I crossed the line. I saved my daughter, and I helped save dozens of others. And that's it. That's all that matters. There are battles we choose, and there are battles that choose us. When Tasha collapsed at Gloria's door that morning, covered in blood and bruises, it wasn't just a daughter seeking refuge. It was the beginning of a war against abuse, against silence, against a system that so often protects abusers instead of victims. Gloria wasn't a perfect sheriff in this story. She walked a fine line between justice and revenge. She used resources she perhaps shouldn't have had. She let her motherly anger fuel her actions as a law enforcement officer. But in the end, she did what was right. She protected not only her daughter, but countless other women. She exposed a predator who had been hiding behind religion and respectability for years. She showed that no matter how important, powerful, or considerably respected an abuser is, how charming he may be, the truth always wins in the end. Marcus Washington had thought he could continue hurting women without consequences. He had thought that his position in the church, his position in the community, would protect him. He was wrong, because he made a fatal mistake. He hurt the daughter of a woman who had the resources, determination, and stubbornness to fight back. And she put up a fight. Tasha's journey from victim to survivor to thriving healer is proof that our pain can have purpose, that our trauma can be transformed into testimony, that our breakdown can lead to a breakthrough. And you? If you're reading this and you're in an abusive relationship, know this: you deserve the best. You don't have to stay. There is help. There is hope. There is life after abuse. If you know someone who is being abused, don't stay silent. Speak up. Offer help. Be a sanctuary. And if you're an abuser reading this, know that your day is coming. Justice may be slow, but it's certain. And when it arrives, no charm, no manipulation, no false pity will save you. Sheriff Gloria Jean Washington may have hung up her badge, but she'll never stop fighting for women who need her. Because once a protector, always a protector. And Tasha? Tasha found her calling. She transformed the worst thing that ever happened to her into the best thing she ever did for other people. This is redemption. This is restoration. This is what happens when you refuse to let trauma define you. If this story touched you, if you need a reminder that there is hope after hurt, leave a like and share. Subscribe to the Grandma's Diaries channel and activate the bell so you don't miss the next story of faith, strength, and justice that proves God never abandons his children. In the comments, tell us, do you know someone who survived abuse and became a voice for others? Share their story with us. Celebrate their strength, because survivors deserve to be celebrated. In the next story from Grandma's Diaries, an elderly woman arrives at the hospital at 3 a.m. with a newborn baby in her arms. When the nurses ask who the baby is, she simply says, "This is my granddaughter. My daughter just gave birth in a gas station bathroom and left the baby there to die. I followed her for weeks because I knew she was hiding a pregnancy. And thank God I was right." A team calls the police. The daughter is arrested for attempted murder. But 3 days later, the grandmother receives a phone call that changes everything. "Ma'am, we need to talk to you about the baby. We did a routine DNA test, and well, there's something you need to know. This baby, it's not your granddaughter. If it's not her granddaughter, who is this child? And why was her daughter pretending it was hers? The baby that shouldn't exist." Next story from Grandma's Diaries. Because some secrets are so dark that they take innocent lives with them. And when the truth finally comes out, it shocks not just one family. She exposes a crime that goes much, much deeper. Until next time. And remember, when you protect vulnerable people, you are doing God's work. Each story is a thread, each memory an embroidery in time.